This is the Track and Field Report. San Juan, Puerto Rico is host city for the 2015 edition of the World's Best 10K. World's Best is considered a landmark on the road racing circuit and is a IAAF Gold Label road race. The talk of this year's edition centered on the strongest headwinds in the event's history. The start and finish of the race, held almost entirely on the Moscoso Bridge, featured Kenya's Sammy Kibwara, who was seeking his 5th victory, which would make him the most successful runner in the event's 18-year history. Affected by the strong headwinds from the start, the lead group of 15 men moved at a slow pace, hitting the 3rd kilometer in 9:07, a minute slower than the course record pace. The race hotted up a bit after 7 kilometers as the pace group comprised of the American Ben True, 4 Kenyans, Kibwara, John Mwangi, Stephen Sambu, and Julius Kogo, and Uganda's 3-time Commonwealth champion Moses Kipsiro. By the final kilometers, the international affair was now completely in the hands of the East Africans as Kibwara and Mwangi dashed to the finish line. The 4-time champion Kibwara launched his final kick and managed to move away from his compatriot 100 meters from the finish line to secure a record 5th World's Best 10K title. The women's race revolved around the struggles of the Ethiopians, Kenyans, and Great Britain's Gemma Steele. The lead group of 11 at the 3-kilometer mark was reduced to 4, with 2 kilometers remaining, leaving Cynthia Limo and Betty Saenya of Kenya and 2 Ethiopians, 2011 winners Sentayu Ajigu and Belanesh Olira. Olira's final surge in the home stretch proved to be the final blow. She broke the tape in 31:50 seconds, 1 second ahead of Limo. Puerto Rico was also the setting for what many consider the toughest half marathon in the world, the Maritime San Blas in Coamo, Puerto Rico. The 53rd edition of the half marathon has a late afternoon 4:30 p.m. starting gun, making San Blas the latest half marathon start in the world. The early evening start guarantees that the streets of Coamo are filled with hundreds of thousands of spectators, exciting but creating an additional challenge to any elite road runner. The crowd support, or lack of crowd control, leaves little space between competitors and spectators, creating one of the most unique environments in athletics. In addition to the very hot tropical conditions, the road to the finish line is liberally challenged with a steady mixture of hills and roadways. By 15 kilometers, the podium positions look settled, as the top 3 runners, number 5 Silas Kimutai, number 1 Kiplimo Kimutai, and number 6 Arcelius Kipyego, seem to have the race under control. However, another Kenyan, Levi Matebo, was closing fast on the trio as they entered the downhill portion of the course. It was at this point, around 17 kilometers, when Matebo seized control of the front position and distanced himself from the former race leaders. It was Matebo who arrived at the church first in fine form and cruised home to a victory in 1:04:13. While Matebo shined, compatriot Arcelius Kipyego suffered from the effects of pushing himself too hard on the southern Puerto Rico hills. It looked really bad at first, but Kipyego somehow managed to revive himself and was back in the race. However, any hope of a top 10 finish was out of the question. On the women's side, Kenyan Rose Limo was able to take a wide margin of victory by almost a minute, setting a new course record of 1:11:40. Atsushige, Japan is the host of the nation's oldest annual marathon, the Lake Biwa Marathon. The 69th edition of the Classic featured weather conditions of considerable cold temperatures and heavy rains. A somewhat slow pace dogged the first half as approximately 50 runners went through the first 10K in 30:34. But 2012 champion Kenyan Samuel Ndugu cranked up the pace at 32 kilometers and covered the next 5-kilometer section in 15:06. Meanwhile, the tracing trio took longer than 15:40. The race for first place was over. Ndugu crossed the line at 2:09:08. winning by more than 2 minutes from Italy's European marathon champion, Daniele Mucci. The city of Nagoya, also in Japan, is again host to the All Ladies Nagoya Women's Marathon. 17 of Japan's top female marathoners were at the start of this year's Nagoya Women's Marathon, the last of 3 opportunities for Japanese runners to qualify for the 2015 IAAF World Championships team. If you are an elite Japanese female runner, this was the last chance salute. Added to the intrigue in bid number 1 is Eunice Kira, formerly of Kenya, now representing Bahrain. In bid number 2, Russian veteran Maria Konovalova was also in the mix. Konovalova, formerly known as Maria Pantoyukova, was the silver medalist at the 2000 European Cross-Country Championships and has represented Russia at 4 World Championships and has a personal marathon best of 2:22:46. At 31 kilometers, it was the former Kenyan Kira who produced a surge the others could not answer. Kira was able to outpace Japanese collegiate marathon record holder Sari Madira and Konovalova and Nagoya Koi's record of 2:22:08. And Konovalova scores a nice world record 2:22:27, a Masters world record in second place. The Semi-Marathon de Paris, or Paris Half Marathon, attracted a record 35,000 competitors, making it one of the biggest races in Europe. This year's race was won by Kenyan Vincent Yater in 1 hour 16 seconds. Yabagruel Malise took the women's honors in 1 hour 9 minutes and 54 seconds.
Away and Pearson's off to a good start.
Reigning Olympic champion Sally Pearson took an early lead in her first hurdles event in almost 6 months before finishing strongly. Pearson officially clocked in 12:74 seconds to claim the victory. This was Pearson's first hurdle since last year's IAAF Diamond League final in August. Under new coach Ash Mahoney, the back and hamstring injuries that hampered Pearson in 2014 appear long gone.
For seconds, and Sabrina Behan, 12 seconds.
That's all for now for Track and Field Report.